gospel starts not with boasting, but with a denial of shame. Did you see that in the beginning? I am not ashamed of the gospel. Why phrase it that way? In Paul's time, in the Greco-Roman world, shame and honor governed life. Honor was currency. Shame was bankruptcy. Rome celebrated triumphs and generals and philosophers and emperors. The gospel, by contrast, centered on a man crucified outside of Jerusalem, a death deserved for slaves and criminals. So to preach salvation through a crucified Jew without any privilege or pedigree was a way to invite scorn and mockery. One of the church fathers, John Chrysostom, noticed that Paul begins here not boasting, but teaching us first not to be ashamed. Conquer shame, he said, and you will soon learn to glory in the cross. Shame is often the first barrier to faithfulness. If the Roman believers could stand unashamed of the gospel, they'd soon learn how to rejoice in it. But why anticipate shame? Why start this way? Because the gospel overturns every measure of worldly greatness. So Rome is, they're celebrating power and nobility. The gospel's coming with weakness and folly and very ordinary people. So to own the gospel in Paul's time was to live on the wrong side of every cultural scoreboard. We've seen that same courage already displayed this morning in baptism. Two individuals standing publicly with Christ, confessing his death and resurrection as their hope. Baptism says with Paul, I'm not ashamed of the gospel. But now think of our moment. Honor today is measured by success and wealth and expressive authenticity and niceness and the world's version of tolerance. We admire the people who are self-made and polished. We admire those who just seem generally nice and won't stir any pots. They appear kind. But the cross tells us that we cannot make or save ourselves. To believe that message will always grate against every cultural grain. So can you imagine the first readers of this letter to the Romans, Paul's letter, and they're thinking, you follow a crucified carpenter from some nowhere part of the world? You hear the same echoes today. You believe these ancient words? This exclusive truth? You really believe that God's word about morality is what would lead to human flourishing and is the most kind? And the temptation remains to soften it a little bit, to rebrand, to make the gospel respectable. But Paul insists, I am not ashamed.